Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. On this page, I talk about technology, money, and hockey. If you are new here, let me let me start over. Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. If you're new here, on this page, I talk about technology, money, hockey, and sometimes trending news. And if you're returning, welcome back. Hope everyone is well. I wanted to do it's a somewhat brief, less than I'm thinking less than 30 minutes stream. It is National Nurses Week. So actually it's the week, but also today, May 6th, 2024, is the official Nurses Day. Here, I'm going to share my screen list. We're going to just start that off a little bit early here. Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually Nurses Day. The official day is Monday, May 6th, 2024. Okay. But then on top of that, there's actually a Nurse Appreciation Week. And here, let's do just a really brief, overview of Nurses Week. Here I got multiple screens going on. Thank you all always for your patience. Okay. Yes. So, whoops. Got some extra things open in there. All right. Yeah. So today is officially not only National Nurses Day, but it's actually National Nurses Week. The history of it, it actually started, it said 1953. You see here a brief history from Nursing World. But official, like say, okay, we're going to make it a thing. It was in 1996, the American Nurses Association initiated National RN Recognition Day to honor the nation's registered nurses. But then also before that, in 1990, the ANA expanded that that Nurses Day to a week-long celebration. It's always typically May 6th to May 12th, May 6th to May 10th or so is National Nurses Week. Lots of companies and businesses do like free giveaways. Some of them do like a lot of discounts and things like that. Y'all bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna put let's like do my screen sharing here and make it a little bit easier because I got multiple screens going on. Here we go. So it makes it easier to share. And I can just keep the screen sharing up without like popping back and forth. There we go. Okay. Here we are. Okay. Yeah. So on Nurses Day, lots of businesses do like free giveaways. They do like discounts, but you all know nurses are not a monolith. So traditionally, when folks think about nurses, they think about the nurses who work in the hospital at the bedside. But there are nurses who work in all kinds of roles in hospitals, in clinics, in doctors' offices, at insurance companies, at startups, as cyber, there's not cybersecurity. Yeah, there are nurses who work in cybersecurity. There are nurses who work in forensics. There are just so many different specialties of nurses, but also acknowledge that there are also nurse content creators. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do a quick little live stream of some of my favorite nurse content creators, nurses that I follow, but also would definitely love to hear from y'all. Who are some of your favorite nurse content creators? You know, as I said, nurses are not a monolith. There are different ways for nurses to make an impact beyond the bedside. And some of the nurse content creators that I'm going to share are doing just that. Some of their whole platforms are around them being nurses. Some of them do more than just nurses. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to do for today, since today is Nurses Day, and just have a conversation about that. Okay, so we got two folks here. Welcome to the folks that are here. I see Conversations with Char Willie is here. Greetings, glad you're here, and the other person who's here as well. So let's just get it started, okay? So one of my favorite nurse content creators that I follow, first up is Mocha Mommy. She is a registered nurse. She's based down in Texas. Now, Mocha Mommy, on her channel, she talks about nursing, but she also talks about issues and encouragement for Black women, and then also for women as a whole. She is a labor and delivery nurse, and I think one of the last updates I heard from her on her channel, she is in nurse leadership, nurse management for women's services like labor and delivery. And I know she's also talked about on her channel about being mentees for like new nurses and educating new nurses. She also has done content around how nurses can prepare themselves for like roles beyond the bedside, how they can upskill. You see, she's also into sports as well. And she just talks about topics in general. So she's one of my favorite content creators. So after the live stream, just like I do with other streams, I'll be sure to leave links in the references, and that way you all can go check out some of these folks as well. Another nurse content creator that I follow that I think is really good information on their channel is ACD for advanced nurses at ACD4N. So it's advanced clinical documentation for nurses, educational consultant. So she is educational consultant nurse, and she also does tutoring. But as you can see on her channel, she also interviews nurses in different roles. Okay, so she just recently did an interview with talking with a healthcare professional who's a consultant around healthcare leadership. She's also done interviews with folks on around clinical documentation, and then talking about some about informatics as well, but definitely a lot around like educational resources for nurses. So she's a really good resource if you want to learn more about clinical documentation for nurses. She also did a video here about working in toxic workplaces, health information management. I do know nurses who work in HIM and do like insurance reimbursement and documentation around reimbursement. So that is advanced nurses at advanced clinical documentation for nurses, educational consultant. Okay. All right. Another nurse that I follow, nurse content creator, is Brianna. Now, Brianna is an informatics nurse, but she also has a nurse recruiting agency. And she also helps people with their resume documentation. You see, she's done interviews on coding and risk adjustment, and she talks about different roles for nurses. She's done some around natural language processing, which is part of artificial intelligence, working at the bedside, transitioning from the bedside, and what that looks like. So, yes, she's another one of my favorite nurse content creator. She's also on Instagram, and she is also on TikTok. Okay. Now, this nurse right here, this is CJ. He is the high value nurse. He has a YouTube page, but he also has a TikTok page. I'm not sure if he has Instagram, but on his TikTok, now he's a nurse. He is an LPN, but you know, to me over here, a nurse is a nurse. He works in long-term care. Okay, so like in like skilled facilities. So he talks about, you see, he has quite a following here on his YouTube. He also has a big following on his TikTok page. He does a lot of comedy as well, comedy around nursing. But he talks about travel on his page as well. And you see, he has some news and updates around like what's hot in healthcare as well. But he's actually quite funny. Okay, he's a balance of both information about just information for LPNs and nurses, as well as a mix of comedy as well. And this is one of my last favorite content creator on YouTube. Now, everyone that I'm sharing are not this is not a definitive list. I just wanted to share if folks were looking for other nurses to follow, since it is National Nurses Day. I'm just sharing some of my favorite content creators, because I think, sharing what we know as you share your knowledge, it helps other people find them, and hopefully, people share with you as well. Okay. So this is Kendra RN. So she is a nurse practitioner. So she talks about being a nurse practitioner, being in school for that, but she also talks around hot topics of nursing. Now, you see, I've watched this video, a really good one that she did on why so many nurses are leaving the profession. And y'all, there is somewhat of a mass exodus, big exodus of nurses leaving the profession for various reasons, for pay, for the stress, for just why some of it was around what happened with the pandemic and the stress around that. But she also does just like day in the lives. Now she's on TikTok as well. Another good video series she did is about how nurses are gaslit in healthcare, which is a really interesting one around like shift work and staffing. Staffing is always a really big hot topic for nurses. Okay, so she's on TikTok as well. Now, just like the last few, now this one, Nasima, she's actually on Instagram. I don't know if she is on TikTok, but I do follow her Instagram page. I came across her because she talks a lot about finances, not just for nurses, but for people in general, especially women. She talks a lot about being a mom with 2 children, but also getting her money together. You see, she's a labor and delivery nurse. She's also a nurse practitioner as well. You see, she's done videos around like compensations for nurses. Now, one thing about Nasima, she is very transparent about how much she gets paid, right? So you see, she did a video here. She's done a series of videos of how much money nurses can actually make, like how much she actually makes as a bedside nurse, but also as a nurse practitioner. But she also talks about getting out of debt and how to stay out of debt. Okay. But I think her page is really good because it's more than just nursing, but it's also just that financial piece and how nurses can better, not just nurses, but how women could better manage their money well. Okay. And I've talked about this next nurse on here before, I do believe. Now, she is a nurse lawyer, because that is another profession of nurses. You do have some nurses who go to law school. Her name is Iristine. Maybe mispronouncing her first name incorrectly, but I think it's Iristine. Her page on Instagram is Your Nurse Lawyer. You see, she's a healthcare and compliance lawyer. I like her page because she talks about the profession of nursing from a legal standpoint. And she shares a lot of stories around, now this one was a really interesting one not this one. There was a story she did about a nurse who got hurt at work and how the nurse's job was trying not to pay like workers' compensation, but she does a lot around like the legality of nursing, and then also how nurses can keep their licenses safe. We always want to practice at the top of our licenses, but we also want to make sure we're doing so in a way that is safe around, like legally speaking. She, and just like with other lawyers, they say, I'm not your lawyer, I am a lawyer. Well, here's the story right here about the nurse who was at work and she had an incident. Her coworkers and her boss didn't give her CPR, and now she's on life support, and her workers' compensation got denied. But she shares a lot about different articles as well around the legality of nursing. Okay, and then the last one I'll share. Now I follow this nurse practitioner. She's on TikTok. She is a behavioral health nurse practitioner. And just like some of the other nurses, nursing is not a monolith. She talks about, of course, being a nurse, right? A nurse practitioner of behavioral health. But she also does travel content as well, and how you can save money, like on, oh, a storm is coming through. I think I need to wrap up soon. I just heard the rain coming down. But she also talks a lot around like travel, not travel nursing, but like how you can like travel and save money. And she does like day in the lives and things like that. But that's it, y'all. The main thing is I wanted to come on and say like happy Nurses Day, National Nurses Week to all the nurses out there. You know, there are different ways to make an impact. There are different ways, like as we see with these nurse content creators, to generate have different revenue streams. If for those who listen to this in the future, if you have any favorite nurse content creators, please share them below, right? Because I always like to follow different nurses. Now there are way more than these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then these 8 or 9 that I share. There's definitely way more nurse content creators out there. So I definitely would to love to hear or hear if you all know of any others. Share them with me, definitely, so I can give them a follow. Hope everyone has a good evening. Thanks as always for listening. Please like and share the video on your way out, and I will see you in the next video.